and taxes. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. And now the Parliamentary Budget Officer rates his deficits as, quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done. Something is going to break. We are at the edge of a cliff. Those are the words of the Parliamentary Budget Officer. When will he stop his out-of-control spending? When he's over the edge of the cliff?
Here. Mr. Speaker, there's a little thing called cause and effect. And the cause that the Leader of the Opposition is missing.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After the Prime Minister broke his promise to, quote, negotiate a win with the Americans by July 21st, lumber tariffs have more than doubled. And job losses are piling up. Cap Paper is potentially laying off 300 workers in Northern Ontario. That's on top of 800 workers who are losing their jobs at Imperial Oil. TransCanada and Enbridge are building more in the United States as their headquarters move south after the Prime Minister broke his promise to build, baby, build. Doesn't the Prime Minister realize that when he doesn't do his job, Canadians lose theirs?
Here. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our sympathies are with the families of the workers at Imperial Oil. Our actions are with the workers and the management of Cap Paper, who are having meetings with the Minister of Industry, a variety of other government officials today to work. Our support is foursquare behind Algoma Steel, with $400 million between the federal government and the province of Ontario to build Canada strong.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, since he took office, 86,000 more Canadians are unemployed. We have the second highest unemployment in the G7. This is all the result of out-of-control government spending and taxes. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. And now the Parliamentary Budget Officer rates his deficits as, quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done. Something is going to break. We are at the edge of a cliff. Those are the words of the Parliamentary Budget Officer. When will he stop his out-of-control spending? When he's over the edge of the cliff?
Here. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there's a little thing called cause and effect. And the cause that the Leader of the Opposition is missing is the U.S. tariffs. The U.S. tariffs that are hitting steel, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting lumber, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting our auto sector. That's why we need to build this country strong. That's why we're getting spending under control. That's why we're going to spend less to invest more. I believe in this country, Mr. Speaker. Come join us.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Spend less? Deficit spending is up almost 100% since this Prime Minister took office. And as for investment, it has fallen. In fact, $50 billion of net investment has left since he took office. And yet he repeats the same promises the Liberals have been making for a decade. They said their deficits would lead to more investment. Since they took office, investment is down by 10%, the worst investment record in the G7. In fact, with $600 billion more debt under this government, investment has fallen. How much more debt would they have to add on the backs of Canadians to reverse this disastrous result?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, it's time for a little fiscal lesson for the Leader of the Opposition. Strongest credit rating in the world, AAA, S&P, and Moody's. Lowest deficit in the G7. Lowest debt level in the G7. Lowest net debt to GDP in the G7. Biggest potential in the G7. This side of the House believes in Canada. Come join us.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I know that sometimes it gets heated in this place, and recently I said that this Prime Minister was just as irresponsible with money as Justin Trudeau, and I now realize that that was unfair to Justin Trudeau. In reality, he has increased the deficit by almost 70% above what Justin Trudeau left behind. And now the Parliamentary Budget Officer describes this Prime Minister's deficits as alarming, stupefying, unstable, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done and something is going to break. How is it even possible for this Prime Minister to be more fiscally incompetent than the drama teacher?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
But he believes you.
I can't imagine, Mr. Speaker, I can't imagine why it gets heated in the House with language like that.
Yeah, exactly.
The former Prime Minister. This government is conducting a comprehensive spending review. This government is building houses. This government is building projects in the national interest. This government is building Canada strong. Come join us.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised the Canadians would be able to judge him by their experience at the grocery store. Well, that experience is what is now being called struggle meals, where Canadians are now sharing tips on how they can scrounge together meals that are often of lower nutritional value because that's all they can afford. Food price inflation has accelerated to almost double the Bank of Canada's target, rising 50% faster in Canada than in the United States since this Prime Minister took office, promising the reverse. Will he finally axe the Liberal taxes on groceries so that Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président, il n'y a pas...
Mr. Speaker, there is no GST on groceries.
Number two, we cut the carbon tax. There's no carbon tax. There's no carbon tax on farms. There's no carbon tax on grocery stores. There is no carbon tax. No, there's not. On anything under 50 kilotons. Monsieur le Président, but we see the big picture. We know that real wages have been growing every single month since I became Prime Minister.
Well done.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Every dollar that the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in Liberal taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister should know this. He calls himself a great economist, but he's going to spend over 60% more than even Justin Trudeau did. Parliament's independent fiscal watchdog says this, quote, "It's alarming, it's stupefying, it's shocking, and it's unsustainable." He says something is going to break and that we're on the edge of a fiscal cliff. So why is the Prime Minister going to drive us off that cliff at full speed?
L'Honourable Ministre des Finances.
Mr. Speaker, that's why we said that we need to spend less so we can invest more. Unlike the Conservative, Mr. Speaker, I believe in Canada. I believe in Canadians. I believe in the will of this nation. We have the talent to lead in the 21st century. We have strong industry. We build planes. We build cars. We build ships. We have critical minerals. We have energy. We're the only country in the G7 to have a free trade agreement with all the other G7 nations. Instead of talking about Canada, they should celebrate the work of this government.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, it is this Liberal that in 2015 promised that massive deficits were investments. But it was all a bait and switch because investment collapsed while debt went through the roof. But instead of sobering up from the debt binge that they've been on, the Liberals are just going to keep spending more money in a forever hangover. That means higher taxes and higher inflation for every Canadian. The first step in fighting addiction is admitting you have a problem. So when will the minister stand up and finally admit that his reckless spending is sending us over the cliff?
L'Honourable Ministre des Finances.
Mr. Speaker, same old Conservatives, Mr. Speaker, same old slogan, Mr. Speaker. She might have missed that we cut taxes for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. She might want to talk to people in her riding and across the nation. The first thing that this government did was to tackle affordability. You know why, Mr. Speaker? Because that's what Canadians told us. They also told us to build homes. That's why we created Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker. They told us to build the most resilient economy. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build the most resilient economy in the G7. We're going to be strong. We're the North.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Midnapore.
The
Liberals assured us in 2015 that running massive deficits was an investment. A decade later, we all know that it was just a bait and switch. The reality is that despite consistent efforts to falsely stimulate the economy, investment in Canada has collapsed. 10 years of Liberal broken promises. Debt up equals investment down. We know that this budget will have a massive deficit, but does the Prime Minister really expect Canadians to believe that doubling down will change the results?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we're retooling the Canadian economy by advancing national projects of interest. We're making Canada the strongest economy in the G7. That means shortening project reviews to 2 years and removing duplication while maintaining the environmental standards and are working with Indigenous peoples. Mr. Speaker, we are making Canada stronger. It would be great if they would support us.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Another Liberal bait and switch. The Prime Minister promised to cap spending, yet he's on track to double Trudeau's deficits. He promised to make Canada the strongest growing economy in the G7, yet we have the worst economic performance in the group. He promised to create jobs, but in reality, 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs since this Prime Minister took office. So when will the Prime Minister tell Canadians that the plan to grow our economy was just a scheme to get elected?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, on Friday I was just out in Vancouver celebrating the launch of LNG to be sent across to our allies. 75,000 Canadians worked on that project, Mr. Speaker. Last week we approved with the province of British Columbia the Silissum LNG facility, which will be as big again. Mr. Speaker, we are building Canada strong.
Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadian workers, families and seniors. Justin Trudeau promised that deficit spending would be an investment. The result, the debt went up, the investment went down. That gave Canada the worst economic record in the G7 and the worst inflation in 40 years. No matter what these Liberals promise, the results are always the same. More debt, higher costs, and declining investment. Why should Canadians believe that this time will be any different?
L'Honorable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, interest rates are down, and when you look at it, wages are growing higher than inflation as we speak. And meanwhile, CPPIB CEO says that the world's largest investors are focusing on Canada. Mr. Speaker, what are we doing? We're building national major projects. We're making sure also to launch a new defense industrial strategy. We'll create jobs in this country, and meanwhile, the opposition needs to come on board to make sure that Canadians benefit.
Honourable Member for Foothills.
We know that the Prime Minister was misleading Canadians when he cancelled the carbon tax. And I want to quote the food professor, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, who stated it perfectly. The carbon tax...
You can't say deliberate. That's... I'd ask the member to start over without that particular language. I mean, inadvertently, but not. I wouldn't suggest that the honourable member is intentionally doing something like that.
Mr. Speaker, we know the Prime Minister was doing a classic Liberal bait and switch when he told Canadians he cancelled the carbon tax. And I want to quote the food professor, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, who put it perfectly. The carbon tax was not eliminated. Only the consumer portion was reduced to zero. The industrial carbon tax remains in place and has actually increased since April 1st. We argued numerous times that the carbon tax across the supply chains is undermining the competitiveness of our agri-food sector. Why is the Prime Minister pulling a bait and switch and taxing farmers and the food Canadians rely on?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the industrial carbon price is essential to our credibility as a responsible energy supplier and key to gaining market access as we diversify our exports. It's driving over $57 billion of investment, enabling carbon capture projects like the Pathways Project and reinforcing Canada's leadership as a low-emission LNG producer. Mr. Speaker, this is the right thing to do.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Well, I'd like to give the Prime Minister some facts. The fact is, food prices have increased nearly 40% since these Liberals were elected 10 years ago. I saw it at the grocery store this weekend. Pork shoulder was up 37%. My coffee was up 25%. A little package of lunch meat was almost $10. The Prime Minister said he would be judged by food prices. Food Banks Canada has now said a quarter of Canadians are struggling to put food on the table. That should never be the reality in this country. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing, support the Conservative motion, and scrap his taxes on farmers and the food Canadians rely on?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are well aware of who has their backs, and that's why they chose this Liberal government in the last election, because over the last 10 years, they've watched Conservatives vote against all of their interests, Mr. Speaker, whether it was for programs for kids, programs for seniors, training for tradespeople, investments in agriculture. These Conservatives vote against it. I hope by the nature of that question, though, that they won't vote against the tax cut for 22 million Canadians. That's how they help Canadians, by standing with them.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar that this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in higher Liberal taxes and inflation. Let's start with the grocery aisle. The Prime Minister promised he would be judged by Canadians' experience at the grocery store. And since he took office, food prices have been rising 50% faster than the U.S. Greta from Trout River, a widow, has reached out saying prices on everything have gone through the roof. She can't afford to eat, Mr. Speaker. Will the Liberal Prime Minister stop taxing groceries so Canadians can afford to put food on their table?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservative leader was busy trying to get the only job he ever had back, 3 months ago today, we cut taxes for 22 million Canadians, and we're not stopping there. We're going to cut spending on government operations so we can invest more in nation-building projects, in housing, in infrastructure, and in defence. We'll create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs. Mr. Speaker, I ask the Conservatives to cut the rhetoric and get on board. Thank you.
Honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the real truth is the Prime Minister has been on this job for half a year and grocery prices have already become more unaffordable. The so-called struggle meals like Hamburger Helper and Kraft Dinner are trending as Canadians struggle with the high price of food, all because of things like the food packaging taxes and the industrial carbon tax. Canadians are judging the Prime Minister. Just like he expected, they're asking, they're pleading for the prices to go down immediately. Again, will the Prime Minister stop taxing groceries so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, today we mark National Seniors Day, and I want to point out that our government has taken action to ensure that seniors in Canada can age with dignity. We're cutting red tape, we're building homes faster, and we've introduced dental care that now more than 2 million seniors have signed up for. We're building an economy that works for everyone. While the Conservatives have a record of pushing the retirement age higher, it's very rich coming from them, given that they are interested in cutting benefits and leaving seniors behind. While they're voting against support for seniors, we are empowering older Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the generation that built our prosperity is now being bled dry by the Liberal government's unaffordability crisis. A shocking new report shows that 1/3 of seniors are covering their adult children's basic costs, and 3/4 say it's draining their retirement. After 10 years of Liberal spending, costs rise and hopes slip away. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of seniors' pockets in Liberal taxes and inflation. Inflation that will further increase with the Prime Minister's plan to double the deficit. How many more seniors will be forced to choose between supporting themselves or supporting their families?
Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so glad that the Conservatives are showing interest in Canada's seniors. This new government is taking action to empower Canada's seniors, and we are steadfast in our mission to protect the dignity and security of those who built this country through a lifetime of hard work. That's why we are taking action to ensure that low-income seniors receive the Guaranteed Income Supplement. This is a vital support that helps those with little or no income beyond their old age security. We are focused on ensuring that they receive every dollar they are entitled to, because supporting seniors is not just policy, but it's a promise we will always uphold.
The honourable member for King Vaughan.
After a lifetime of hard work raising their families, seniors deserve to enjoy their retirement. But under this Liberal government, that dream is slipping away. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in higher Liberal taxes and inflation. A new report shows 1 in 3 grandparents are now supporting their adult children and grandchildren, and 76% say it's cutting into their retirement savings. Mr. Speaker, how much more inflation will this Prime Minister add with his plan to double the deficit?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, this government is taking action to empower Canada's seniors. While the Conservatives, with their plan, folks wouldn't have been able to retire until 67. I think it's important to point out that on this side of the House, we're ensuring a strong, stable future for our seniors. We have crucial programs that provide more than $1,000 per month to the most financially vulnerable seniors, and we're focused on ensuring that they receive every dollar they're entitled to. We are steadfast in our mission to protect the dignity and seniors of those who built this country, and they...
The honourable member for Markham Unionville.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The higher Liberal taxes and inflation. A new report shows that 1 in 3 seniors are supporting their adult children and their grandchildren. What does this mean? It means that 28% of seniors help their adult children with rent or mortgage payments, up from last year. This should be a concern to everyone. When the Prime Minister doubles the deficit, how much more will grandparents have to pay to house their adult children and grandchildren?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, today is of course National Seniors Day, and I'm proud to wish all seniors a happy day on their day. I'm also not quite a senior yet, but I am old enough to remember when Conservatives voted against increasing the OAS. They voted against increasing the GIS. They voted against all other supports for seniors in the pandemic. They called it inflationary spending, Mr. Speaker. Did it take National Seniors Day for Conservatives to see the light, Mr. Speaker?
Every dollar this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians because of higher Liberal taxes and inflation. This Prime Minister said we should judge him based on the prices at the grocery store. Well, let's. Food inflation in Canada is rising 50% faster than in the United States. Food bank usage is at record highs and rising. The St. Thomas Elgin Food Bank will have to feed 30,000 mouths this year, the 3rd straight year of record highs. The Prime Minister said he would turn this economy around because he's this brilliant banker. Why didn't he tell Canadians that on his watch, more than ever would need a food banker?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, one of the best ways to combat inflation is to create real opportunities for Canadians. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to be building. We're building, Mr. Speaker, building homes, building projects in the national interest with Canadian lumber, Canadian steel, Canadian unionized workers, Mr. Speaker. We are optimistic about Canada's future. Will the Conservatives get on board?
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's been caught plagiarizing again. This time, he's copying his protege, Justin Trudeau. Trudeau promised that deficit spending would be an investment. And what happened? When the debt went up, investments in Canada collapsed. Then after COVID, he said he would remake the economy with deficit spending. This gave Canada the worst growth in the G7 and the worst inflation in 40 years. No matter what Liberals promise, debt and costs go up and growth and investments go down. Why would it be different this time?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. You know what helps Canadians? Cutting their taxes for 22 million Canadians, and that's what we did earlier this year, Mr. Speaker. We're supporting affordability measures with actual policies, not just rhetoric in the House of Commons, not with misinformation. Mr. Speaker, time and time again, these Conservatives have stood up in the House to suggest there's taxes on groceries. Canadians know better. They can read their bill. They can go into the bill. They see there's no taxes on coffee beans. There's no taxes on meat. There's no taxes on craft dinner. Mr. Speaker, when are the Conservatives going to show up with some real ideas to support affordability for Canadians?
Honourable Member for Calgary-Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, that's not an answer. That's just another Liberal bait and switch. The Prime Minister promised to cap spending. Promise broken. The Prime Minister is going to double Justin Trudeau's deficits. The Prime Minister promised Canada would have the strongest economy in the G7. Promise broken. Canada now has the slowest economic growth in the G7. This tired, old, incompetent government has presided over 10 years of economic and fiscal vandalism. When will they finally rein in their out-of-control inflationary spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Speaker, on April 28th, Canadians made a clear choice between a leader with business and economic experience versus a leader with none. We are laser focused on cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians. We are cutting taxes for first-time homebuyers. Interest rates are low, and we will build homes at a scale not seen since the Second World War. Mr. Speaker, we will build the strongest economy in the G7. I ask the Conservatives to cut the rhetoric. Get on board.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
The Parliamentary Budget Officer just pulled the fire alarm. He called our finances, quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, and unsustainable. He warned, quote, if we don't change, this is done. Something's going to break. We're standing at the cliff's edge, and for the younger generation especially, this is their future at risk. Every dollar this Prime Minister spends today comes out of Canadian pockets tomorrow in higher taxes and higher inflation. Will the Prime Minister keep marching Canadians toward the cliff off doubling deficits, or will he finally turn back before it's too late?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where the Conservatives have been for the last 4 months, but we have crisscrossed the country talking to, consulting, and listening to Canadians. Their message was resoundingly clear. They want us to spend less in government operations, invest more in nation-building projects, strengthen our economy, building the most resilient economy in the G7. Again, please, Conservatives, stop the rhetoric. Join with us. Get on board. Thank you.